Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us for our podcast. If you're new here, we are wonderfully made, and you're at the heart of everything that we do. And our mission is to help you know your worth in God and to flourish in every area of your life. I really want to encourage you to visit our website, wonderfullymade.org. You're going to find all our programs, our resources. We just launched a brand new online community that you can join, and we offer really awesome content. You're actually able to access it with the tap of an app. We are having an event. If you're in California, we're having our Young Women's Retreat on Saturday, September 14th. So we would love for you to join us there. And also when you visit, be sure to grab our free guide, 20 ways to live happier and healthier. And that will just give you a really fun resource and also make sure that you are connected with us. So today I have a friend joining me who I've known for over 10 years. And I know many of you in our community, you already know her, you've been inspired by her, you've been touched and impacted by her work. And so I'm going to introduce her to you. Sarah Dubbeldam is the founder of Darling, a global lifestyle and multimedia company. Darling Magazine is notably the first U.S. magazine to ban the retouching of its models and has featured many celebrities. Sarah started Darling on Kickstarter and built the brand organically over the last 10 years. And Sarah started her career in film and fashion, which led her to become a professional model. And she modeled in many national campaigns for clients such as Target and InStyle. And in this industry, Sarah found a passion for broadening the ideals of beauty and creating an authentic and elevated conversation for women. Sarah, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Allie.
It's so good. It's so good to have you here. I still remember grabbing coffee together. I think it was over 10 years ago in LA. And, I was new starting Wonderfully Made. And I think you had just launched Darling. Now, did you launch it as a
Yeah.
blog back then or?
Yeah, we launched at a similar time. We launched as a blog, and then a year later, we launched our print magazine.
Yeah. And so it's just been so neat, seeing Darling evolve and blossom over the last, 10 plus years now? How many years?
12.
12 years. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're celebrating 20 years of Wonderfully Made this year.
Oh, wow.
So I love it. You're in it for the long game. So, will you start us off, Sarah, just by sharing a little bit about your story, your background, and how that led you in to start Darling?
Sure. So, what really sparked the idea for Darling was, as you mentioned, I lived in LA in my early 20s, and I was a model doing a lot of print modeling, commercials, all of that whole game, and really felt just lost. And I was anxious. I was dealing with a lot of depression, actually pretty severe depression that I was hospitalized for even at one point, and was just really not thriving. And I went through a season right in the middle of that of working with a counselor for over 2 years to get myself out of that space. And it was just a lot of digging into my past and my personal identity and my worldviews, my faith in God, everything to just realign that. So it was a very long journey out of that. And so coming out of that, I had the idea for Darling with one of my best friends named Kelly. We were sitting at coffee one day and just, she had been through a lot of depression and anxiety as well. And we were just having a conversation around where do you go as a young woman for advice on all the things of life? If you're dealing with a breakup or life direction or body image, or you're just feeling lost, you don't know what you believe, you don't know how to ground yourself, where are you supposed to go? Are you supposed to just Google how to get over heartbreak or something like that? And so we were really the blind leading the blind, and I had this really severe experience with depression. She was dealing with a lot of panic and things. And we were like, what are we doing? And what are women doing? And how can we help? And so, we weren't completely whole or perfect or anything when we started Darling, but we said, let's start a platform and a magazine that is a voice to young women, a voice of wisdom around all the different areas of their life. So at that point, started developing the idea around these 8 personas of your life. So like the dreamer, the achiever, the hostess, the stylist, the beautician, the explorer, and the confidant, which are just these different kind of subsections of your life that you need guidance on. And so we were, writing about the things that we'd been through, but then pulling other women in and different voices to give advice and wisdom. So we wanted to be like a one-stop shop for
Mhm.
women to deal with things that they were going through. So that's how it started, as a literally a conversation over coffee. I remember the moment we were both drinking large chai teas and came up with
Uh,
it.
well, thank you for sharing your story with us. I know, unfortunately, it's a common experience, right, for so many girls and women. And, I know I've dealt with that too. And so many girls and women in our community. And it's just so neat how beauty and meaning and purpose can come from those really barren and dark desert seasons, like thinking we're hitting, growing these like unseen roots, right? In these difficult times and how they can blossom and really become beautiful. And I love how, you have used those experiences to create something meaningful and to affirm women. I think you're able to understand girls and women and to connect with them in a real authentic way, and just knowing you have that authenticity, and this is something that you live out. And so thanks for sharing that about your story. You mentioned that you were in the modeling industry. How many years did you model, Sarah?
For about 8 years.
8 years. So, I know a lot of girls growing up are like, oh, I just want to be a model. If I become a model, I'm going to have this ideal life. Everything's going to fall into place. I'm just curious, what was your experience in the modeling industry like, and how did that affect your work with Darling?
Right. So, first I'll say a lot of people do villainize the, modeling industry, but it's not all terrible. There's a lot of great people. Like I loved my agents. I love the people that I worked with, the clients I worked with. They're great people. And, we do have to photograph clothes and product to sell them. Like it is
Right.
necessary. But back when I was doing it 12 years ago, people were photoshopping like crazy. And I would be in an ad in a catalog that's targeted for 60-year-old women as a 24-year-old, fully photoshopped at that age, where I
Wow.
would say, oh, wow, like I have no wrinkles and my legs look skinnier. And, like I just look like something's been altered there. And that was really disturbing to me. And also, when you go to auditions, you know, a client will be casting for, I don't know, backyard barbecue mom or something like that. You walk in the room and every girl looks exactly like you. So every girl would have blonde curly hair, green or blue eyes, 5'9", exact same measurements. And you go and you have to fill out every measurement from the size of your bicep to the size of your calf, your ankle, and you memorize these measurements about yourself. And so when you're not those measurements, or I've had moments where I've walked into my agency and, my agent would kind of look me up and down and just in this weird way. And then later I'd get an email that's, hey, it looks like maybe you've gained a little bit of weight. I'm trying to book you for Nike, but want to make sure you're still working out. Like I would get emails like that. And just that constant pressure of thinking about how you look just really takes the focus off of what's actually important, which is who you're becoming, your character development, how people feel when they're in your presence, and so that was very eye-opening. I think that, I wasn't really rooted. I was, like I said, I was struggling with a lot of other kind of existential issues in my life. And so if you're going to get into that industry, just making sure that you understand the scope of it, you understand advertising, that it's a game, and that people are trying to play it. They're trying to sell as many things as they can, and you are literally just a pawn in that game. And so it's not a thing about value or worth. You're not going to feel like more beautiful. You're just going to feel like you're competing against people all the time. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be in a place where you're whole and confident and you're, going into it for the right reasons. But yeah, it's a very tough job. I liked the creativity of it, of trying to, make the clothes look good or being artistic or creative, working with creative directors. I think there's a fun side to photography and modeling, but definitely it's not the most healthy, thriving place that you can be as a young woman, I would say.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And, I've had so many friends who have been in the modeling industry, and it's just the stories that they share. And yeah, so thanks for sharing your experience about that with us. Here at Wonderfully Made, we're more on the spiritual side of things. But for Darling, you really share our mission to help girls and women know their immeasurable value and their authentic beauty and live intentional and purposeful lives. And just from the very beginning, Sarah, everything that you've done from the day you started your blog till you started the magazine, the physical print magazine, which I want you to talk a little bit more in a second about the full spectrum of Darling, the journey of Darling. But everything that you do really affirms a woman's worth. And so I think it's just so beautiful. I'm wondering, why is that so important to you?
Yeah, I think for me, just going through that journey of, deep depression and having self worth issues and ending up finding that worth in God was really huge for me. And I am such a fan of beauty. And when I think about God, I think about creativity
Mm,
and how he created the world and created humanity and especially women. So, in such a particular, beautiful, specific manner. Like the design of a woman is just so special. And
mhm,
so at Darling, that's my lens and my worldview. And so I just want people to know their unique design, whether they
mhm,
do believe in God or they don't believe in God. The fact that women are beautiful and uniquely, as you say, wonderfully made and have a purpose
mhm,
is true. That is just a universal truth. And so through everything we do, we try to reiterate that you have worth, you have purpose, and you have a unique beauty. There's no one like you that has your voice and your personality and your eyes and just the way that you are. And so that's really core to what I believe and what I found personally, and that I just want people to
mhm,
know, regardless of what path they're on. And so we talk to all different types of women. I think it's a universal need and something that we all need to know deep down.
mhm. So will you talk to us about from the blog to your Kickstarter days, all the different amazing things Darling has done over the last 12 years? Will you just give us an overview from your inception to where you are today? And we're going to dive into your latest, your clothing line, but just give us a timeline. Yeah, and about your magazine, some of my friends and myself were able to write articles for it. And I just remember getting the print issue in the mail every time, and it was like so special. And I remember smelling the ink on the pages. And then I would just want to go, to the beach or somewhere special and just ingest every word. And so it was really special. So I want to hear you share your manifesto.
Sure. So we spent about a month writing this manifesto, and it really captures our heart for women. And we said we wanted it to be a new wave of femininity in our culture and kind of striking the balance and the dichotomy of the different aspects of being a woman. So it says, Darling, you are a work of art. You have the ability to fully display beauty apart from vanity, influence apart from manipulation, style apart from materialism, kindness apart from passivity, confidence apart from comparison, and dignity without degradation. You are a catalyst to transform the world around you through your wit, wisdom, character, and courage, all the while creating beauty and embodying love. You are not only interesting but original, not only good enough but exceptional, and not just here, but here for a purpose.
Mm. We love that so much. And listeners, as you're listening to that, like that manifesto is for you. And that is so true for you and each one of us. So, okay, so back to the magazine. Talk to us a little bit more about that. You were the first magazine not to retouch women. So take us through that. And
Right. So we took that manifesto and we put that on Kickstarter, and we were able to raise funds within a few days. Kickstarter ended up featuring us on their blog and said this is one of the freshest messages we've seen for women in a long time. And we were one of the first female founders on Kickstarter as well, which was really great. And so that mission statement was really the core of everything that we did. And then in our issues, we, had a big page that says none of the women in this magazine have been retouched. So we were just sitting around a table one day, our team, talking about that and arguing about it actually, where somebody said, what if you go to Coachella and you get like a sunburn and then you break out? Don't you want to retouch that? And I said, well, that's real life. There's always something that comes up, right? Like you always get a zit, or you always have a scar, or something's always going to happen. And I said, look at every one of us sitting at the table right now. We all have a flaw, as people would call it, on our face, and that's just how life is. So what if we just put women out there exactly as they are? It's like, yeah, if a photo's dark, we can adjust the lighting, but we're not gonna, do the healing patch tool in, Photoshop, or narrow anyone's body or do anything like that. And so it was quite revolutionary at the time. There was no magazines doing it. A lot of photographers didn't want to work with us because they said, if that's out there in the world, that will be a reflection on my skills as a photographer, which was very shocking. I had some celebrities get on board really early on, like Kristen Bell and Olivia Wilde, and they said, I love this. I don't never want to be photoshopped. And that gave us a really big boost early on. So in the first few issues, we had some really great celebrities. And then issue 3, we got into anthropology, and that was a huge boost for us. And so then we grew from there over the next 10 years and did the print magazine. We started doing events called Darling Dinners, where women could get together, put away their cell phones, and have conversations that were hosted by us. So we're still consistently doing those even now, but that was really the evolution of the magazine. It was a time when quarterly magazines were really taking off. And so that was really fun to just be different, push the status quo, have deeper conversations, not Photoshop, and just really be disruptive, which I love, being disruptive in a good way when industries it's almost like a Robin Hood, right? You're like going into a specific industry and then you're being different in that industry, but you're still playing with the same medium that everybody's playing with. And that was really fun to go in and be different. And it really made a difference in the way people saw the world. And I think in just the way people have stopped photoshopping, like we really were at the forefront of that. And I hope we were impactful in other brands deciding to stop Photoshop.
yeah, you totally were. I mean, before Darling in your magazine, like you didn't see models who weren't retouched. I mean, you and I were the same age. I grew up watching, looking over my mom with Vogue magazine, and every woman was like mostly Caucasian women, like emaciated, so thin. And, you really, I think you were at the beginning. And now we see the body diversity. We see different women, shapes and sizes, not Photoshop, but like you really were at the forefront of that. And I think you really inspired a lot of brands and businesses. And I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I love it. It's so funny. I don't think I told you this, but in high school we had to create a business. And so all my friends and I decided we were going to start a magazine for girls.
Oh, wow.
And it was like so much like Darling, like Real Girls. I think it was called like Real Teen or something. So I just love it that, our shared, heart and passion just to see women affirmed in their unique beauty and in their purpose and in their worth. And so I love it because, you've really
awesome.
made that happen. So, a lot of girls and women, I would say, the majority really can struggle with like body image issues. Is that something you've dealt with? And, someone's listening, they're, maybe experiencing a lot of body shame or they're not comfortable. What encouragement do you have for them?
Yeah, I definitely have dealt with that, as a model, as I was saying, just dealing with that constant comparison. And then I would say after I had two kids, that was especially harder for me, going four sizes bigger than I was when I was younger, and just saying, what does that mean? That when you're shopping, you're looking at such a different size, and what does that mean about who you are? And for me, it's really about educating yourself about what you're seeing. So a lot of people do not realize that even on Instagram now, it's, yeah, magazines used to Photoshop, but now we can all Photoshop ourselves, right? There used to be specific creators who would curate content for us as women to look at with magazines or blogs, but now everyone's a creator. Everyone can alter themselves. I mean, there's Facetune, there's everything, and you can just make it whatever you want to be. And mostly everyone is doing it. Like everyone just needs to realize that they're taking 1,000 photos, they're positioning themselves a certain way, and then they're retouching those photos, or using some form of AI to make themselves perfect. So it's really about understanding that most of the things that you're looking at aren't real. And that's very hard and disorienting as a person, because you want to live in reality and you think you're living in reality, but you're not when you're on any of these social or digital platforms, or even in person. That's real, but there's still that comparison element that goes in there. So what I do is ask myself, like, okay, that image probably isn't real. That's her best day, that's her best moment, and that's awesome. And I try to change my perspective to celebrate another woman and say, like, she is beautiful, but so am I. So I put in that angle and that but in there. So instead of being like, oh my gosh, like trying to find something wrong with her to put her down to make me feel better, I just acknowledge, wow, that woman is really beautiful. And I can celebrate that because, like I said, that God designed each of us and he creates art, right? Like our line says, we are a work of art, but it's, if you're in an art gallery, it's like that painting is beautiful, but so is that one that looks really different. And so I like to think of myself as a work of art and other women as a work of art, but just in that moment, not try to deny or push away the fact that other person is really attractive and I might feel envious or want to be like her or compare myself at her, but celebrate it instantly and then also celebrate myself. And so it's like a mental exercise that I do. And then also just realizing to be fully in the moment. Like I read this quote the other day that said, it doesn't matter. Your kids don't care about what you look like in a swimsuit. They just care that you got in the water with them. And somehow that just really struck me, right? It's like we have this above ground pool and my kids just want me to jump in there and play pirates, and I'm like getting ready in the bathroom and putting on my swimsuit, looking at myself and being like, oh my gosh, my stomach is like so poochy today, or blah, 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 or just having those thoughts and be like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to have an experience right now that's amazing. And that's what life's about. And if you're same as you're going out to dinner with your friends, like thinking about how are you showing up as a light and a presence that people remember. They're not going to remember the dress you wore or how you looked in it, or if you gained weight or not. They're going to remember how you made them feel,
Right.
and the conversation you had and what your presence meant there. And so focusing on that type of side of beauty is really important. Yeah, get ready, get dressed, be artistic, express yourself. But when you get there, you're in that moment, just think about who you are and how you're loving people, because that's what's remembered, not how perfect you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said, so I do something similar. That's really neat. When you say, that woman is beautiful, and so am I actually say that, and I say two other things. I say, and I just did a little reel about it that I haven't posted yet. She is beautiful, and so am I. her life is a miracle, and so is mine. She is wonderfully made, and so am I. And I love that
I
that
love
takes
that.
me to a place of celebration. Wow, look at this amazing woman. God created her. And sometimes when I do that, I'll even pray a blessing over that woman. And that was really freed me from comparison. So I just love that so much, because we can talk about, well, don't compare, but like, how do we stop comparing? So, friends, if you're listening, we just want to encourage you, next time you are tempted to compare, say, she is beautiful and so am I. And celebrate that God made her with love and wonder, and he made you with love and wonder. And, there's no such thing as an ordinary life, and it's an honor to have a heartbeat. And so it's so fun talking with you, Sarah, because I know we like totally on the same page and
I love
share the
that.
same heart. Okay, so now I'm so excited to dive into your newest project, Darling Society. So last year you launched a brand new clothing line. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so exciting. Right after COVID, we really wanted to expand what Darling offers because print magazines aren't the most popular method of reading now, and so while we still do that, once a year or biannually, we have digital content. We're still speaking to culture. I wanted to create some product around the brand that could be physical representations of our mission. So we ended up launching some home goods that were around table settings, candles, greeting cards, kind of representing your social life, and the Darling dinners that we do. So we launched that first. And then we spent about a year developing a clothing line, which was so exciting and fun to say, how can we take our mission of Darling and put that into clothing? So we now have a full ready to wear clothing collection, tops, blouses, shorts, skirts, pants, dresses, outerwear, the whole collection. I think we have around 60 items on our website, and it really is a physical representation of the brand. So we say that as a clothing company, we help you combat that voice in your head in the morning when you're getting dressed. That is like our first interaction with our self-esteem, right? You pull on some shorts and your first thought is, oh man, like I've gained weight, or oh, I don't look good in this. You might wake up happy, but then the moment you try to get dressed, that's when you start remembering what you don't like about your body. And so we want our tag hanging in your closet to remind you of the things we've been talking about today. And the wash tag of the clothing says you are a work of art, which ties back to that idea of each of us being like a work of art in an art gallery. And so I want it to be a physical representation when people are wearing it. This is actually a Darling dress I'm wearing right now, our boardwalk dress, that it just makes you feel different. Like we all know those things in our closet, that whether it's really nice or you got it in Italy or somewhere, like it means something to you, like each piece
Mhm.
of clothing. Like I know clothing is important to me because I just love fashion, but things do mean stuff. And so that's why I hope that it carries that mission for women. So we launched a year ago. We're in a few select boutiques, but mostly for sale on our website. And so a lot of people
Mhm.
don't know we have a clothing line yet. So we're just getting the word out and hoping that
Yeah.
it can just be another vehicle, another arm of our business to create the same type of impact.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm so excited because I think my sweater that I ordered from you guys, I think it's coming
Yay!
today on my doorstep. I got your gray cable knit sweater, and it's just so classic and timeless. So I'm super excited to start wearing that in the
Excited?
fall. And so, friends, the website for the clothing line is darlingsociety.com. Is that right,
Yes.
Sarah? And then you have a special offer you want to share with us today.
Yes, I'd love to give everyone 15% off. You can use the code DarlingFriend, all caps, and it's a one-time code, so we'd love for you to use it and share it with a friend. Feel free, because we're trying to spread the word, get people in the clothes, and really hoping that, not only with the mission and the mentality, but also that you just really love the clothes. Because I will say we've worked really hard to make them fit all different types of body types. We have a lot of drawstrings. We have little buttons inside our waistbands that are expandable.
Hmm.
So you can fix the waistband. They're just really easy and effortless to throw on. Nothing's fussy or like too tight or just hard to wear because we understand that women's bodies are fluctuating all the time. So I wanted it to be comfortable, whether you're postpartum or you're just in a transition with your body. I really hope that they are comfortable for you as well. So just check out all the different things we have, and I hope to get you all in some
Yeah.
darling stuff.
Yeah, and your pieces are so classic and timeless. And, I won't get into it, but I loved when we met up in LA at the Claris Gala. Like, you were wearing your red, beautiful dress, and just like hearing about your creative process about how you, as a designer, come up with your pieces was so fascinating. So, on that note, Sarah, I think we have so many smart and brilliant and creative girls and women who are part of our community who listen to this podcast. And some of them are business owners. Many of them dream of starting a business. Some of them have a creative vision in their heart. What advice and encouragement do you want to share with them from your own experience?
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite. I love starting things. I think that it's so awesome that we can create something out of nothing. That is also our God given ability to create and to be creative. And I would just say, don't wait. If you have an idea that you've been thinking about, just get started on it. And I always tell people it's good to have a big vision that's really far out. Like, I was like, we are going to change the magazine industry so people stop photoshopping, so that we see all sizes of models in photography. And we actually targeted, we were like, Victoria's Secret is going to change because of us. We said that. And now they were one of the very last ones to do it. But now when I walk by, I see curve models in their windows, and I'm like, there it is. Like, we did it. It's not like it's not like it was all up to us, but we were a part of that. And so having a really big vision, don't be afraid of that, but then also make sure that you can break that down into something that you can start tomorrow. So I always say, create something that's really doable, that you can create a small model of first and prove out. So we actually made the first magazine, and then we put it on Kickstarter. So we're like, we want to know that we can make one of these things first before we say, hey, we're making a magazine. It'll kind of be like this. Imagine this. If you have a prototype for a swimsuit company, it's go find a sample sewer and make one swimsuit so that you can take that to a meeting with an investor, or you can talk to someone about it. Actually make the thing that you're wanting to do in a very small form so that you yourself also believe in it and know it will work. And Kickstarter or crowdfunding campaigns are a great way to know how people resonate with it. My husband and I have launched a few things on there. Some things have worked, some things haven't. The things that don't, you're like, oh, nobody likes that. Glad we knew before we made 100 of them. Like, you just iterate and test, and just starting small, or starting with 3 things you can do that day that move you closer towards your vision. And I would also say, like, creating a mission statement like we did, or a manifesto, kind of like your why, what, how. There's a really great exercise by Simon Sinek, who created the why, what, how, and it's these 3 circles. It's a YouTube video, you can look it up. But that really helps you know, like, why are you doing what you're doing? What is your personal motivation behind it? How do you do it? What does it actually look like? Like, what does it look like to execute it? And creating that framework is really important so that you are so clear. And if you're in an elevator with someone and they're like, what are you doing? You're like, I am doing this. And here it is in one line. And they're like, I got it. Like, how is it serving people? What is it bringing to the world? How does that happen? Being able to answer those questions yourself. And that's a really fun place to start too, because it's really dreamy and you can run it by people and you can iterate it. And then you know what you're doing, and then you make the thing, and then you launch the thing. So not getting ahead of yourself and realizing that might take a couple years just to even figure out what you're doing before you launch it, and that's okay. So That's a lot, but that's my advice.
I love it. I mean, not only have we been created to be works of art, but we have this amazing ability to create works of art. And so I love it so much. So, Sarah, if you could go back and give your younger self some words of wisdom, how old would younger Sarah be and what would you want to tell her?
Ooh, that's such a
I got
good.
you on the spot.
There's so many ages that
I
I
know, yeah.
that I wish that. Yeah, I would just say that in my early 20s, just really telling myself how unique I am and how gifted I am, and like speaking over myself with love instead of just like criticism and comparison. I think the younger that you can realize how unique you are, what your gifts are, what you want to give to the world is so important, because we just flounder so much in that stage of life. Just what am I doing? Who am I? And so, even though you might not know all those different directions, like just really focusing on that inner sense of self worth, that no matter what you do, no matter what you accomplish, no matter what you look like, that you are worthy and beautiful and valuable, like that. If you can establish that as a core, then no matter what happens, it's like I've failed so many things at Darling and different things, and gone through so many seasons where it's almost died completely or just felt like a total failure at so many different things. But the more you have that as like a through line, then it doesn't matter, like all these things that are happening, because you're like, oh, I know what I'm worth. I know I'm uniquely made. I know that I'm beautiful. I know that what I do doesn't determine my worth, because I think I struggled a lot with that, with wanting to achieve and wanting to be successful and wanting to be beautiful and as a model and all these things. And just now, I feel like I'm coming into that identity where I'm learning to let a lot of things just pass over me and be like, oh, well, that doesn't matter because I'm Sarah and I'm loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important, and it's hard to do. But if you focus on it enough, it does become a part of who you are.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. So, friends, be sure to visit darlingsociety.com, and we are giving you permission to shop. So, and go treat yourself because you are worthy and you're worth it. So, what is the 15% off code one more time? And we'll put it in our show notes too.
Darling friend, all caps.
Darling.
DARLING, friend. Yep, all caps.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. Everyone, thank you for listening. Just want to encourage you to visit our website again, wonderfullymade.org. Everything we do is there. You can learn about our upcoming fall retreat. Also, we just launched a 6-lesson course for teen girls and young women. That is now live as of today. And you can join our free online community where we share really encouraging curated content to encourage you in your faith and in your life. And you can actually access it with the tap of an app. So if you go to Wonderfully Made, you hit the join button, you'll be taken there where you can join. And then also make sure you grab our free guide, 20 tips to live happier and healthier, so we stay connected with you. So thanks, Sarah. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Allie.